Michael. So, for all of you who are here, the first session of today, Nav and I were talking, and one of the biggest things that we were saying are mistakes is people not even understanding the settings and what certain parts did inside of Google. And often, education to understand what you're currently doing is important. And career development is even more important. What do you want to be in 5 years and 10 years? And so a lot of you probably don't know Michael Stebbins, although Michael and I first shared the stage 2007 or 2008. It
That's
was
right. Yeah.
15, 16 years ago. Michael's one of the people who started Market Motive and then Simply Learn, which are, if you went to Duke University or many other places to study digital marketing, Michael's the reason you got to take those classes. He also is the OMCP chairman for now, which is one of the leaders in industry certifications. So he's currently a marketing growth guy on a slight sabbatical until his next big project comes out. So, Michael, it's great to have you here.
Yeah, it's like the family's back together again. Thanks, Brad.
You are welcome. With that, we're going to get into career development and all kinds of good stuff. So, Michael, you take it away.
Sure.
And I will be here for some Q&A and stuff in a little bit. So
Right
thank
on.
you.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. And for those of you who made it to the last session of the day, as I understand it, thank you. Put a word in the chat so we know you're here. Word of the day, word that has to do with careers, something you want to learn. We want to see some activity of folks who are here, because it turns out that hiring in digital marketing is inherently broken. In fact, I think that wraps up the presentation. Thanks for being here. But more seriously, my time has been spent working with the hiring side and helping digital marketing managers and teams build out the talent for their groups. And yet also in my role at OMCP, I talk to several hundred people who are improving their careers every year. And so I've put on the screen for you the top complaints on each side. And just in the last session, Perna was doing a great job teaching us about content marketing. One of my favorite things to figure out what kind of content goes out is to pay attention to complaints, because complaints are often the path to opportunity. So these complaints do not indicate that there is a worldwide conspiracy to keep certain people out or something like that, although sadly that happens sometimes. And by the way, I love the comments that are coming in. Thank you. Yeah, screenshot this. I guess it'll be up on YouTube, and also the slides, of course, happy to make them available. But as we go through these, it's like watching a married couple argue. You see both sides clearly, but you're like, why aren't you connecting? You know, I get, we can't find anybody, and yet, you know, I'm talking to hundreds of clearly qualified candidates. So why is there a gap? So for the first time ever, I'm going to take what I know from the hiring side and share it with you, what's going on behind the scenes and what this gives you in terms of opportunities to get through, get into an organization and improve your career. Also, some of these apply to any career, but also some of these apply to if you want to go independent, you want to be a consultant or the like. These are the ways that you can know. So the first thing is that we need to establish, well, I'm going to skip the terrible job posting right now. We may come back to that. It's fun. What do you need to know in terms of digital marketing? What is it that you have to understand? Now, we can go to job postings and see all kinds of things that's platform specific, and that's useful. In fact, it's really fun to go to LinkedIn and you can search jobs for, let's say, you know, Apple search ads versus LinkedIn ads, and you can kind of see which one is trending in terms of demand. Those are platforms. This list that you might want to screenshot or grab went out to 4,000 hiring managers, and it's the fat part of the snake. It's the bell curve. It's what you need to know to actually practice. So notice that these are not necessarily platform specific, because we all know platforms come and go, but these are the skills that are really in the trenches doing the work. So if you look at this list and you're missing something, especially if it's up towards the top, you may want to fill that out, and that's power move number 1, is filling in what you need to know. But power move number 2 we're going to address. Before we get there, it is how much do you need to know at what level? So let's say I need to know bid management. Well, the industry has set out that there are 2 levels that are commonly referred to, a bunch of different names, but I'll give you the first level right now, and that's what we call conversant. Some people call it associate, some people call it component. Happens to correlate with the OMCA level for our industry standards. This is where you can define the names of and the importance of the components of 6 digital marketing disciplines. We call this broad spectrum knowledge. You can communicate to somebody who is going to implement these. The industry has set out, in order for you to manage people who do marketing or communicate marketing concepts, you do need to know. So for example, in paid search, we'd know what bid management is and why it's important, how to measure it. If it's in digital analytics, we would know what web analytics segmentation is and why that's important. So these are examples of components, but the next level is what we call practitioner or specialist. And you'll see we always do the 2 hands like the referee, right? 2 hands up, okay? And it turns out that there's no more one-trick ponies. You need 2 specialties, and at the specialty level, you roll up your sleeves and you do it. So if it's digital analytics, you're implementing the tag management system. You're creating the segmentation strategies. If it's digital advertising, you are setting up the bid management strategies or the account structure. You're doing. One is not better than the other. They're different, okay? And then I took Rand Fishkin's T-shaped marketer and I turned it into an I-shaped marketer, because it turns out that thinking, habits, passion, soft skills are the first thing that hiring managers tell me that they want when I ask them for hard skills. When I say, tell me the hard skills you want to hire, they almost always say, well, I want somebody who can turn data into decisions, right? Or I need somebody who can persuade. Well, it turns out those are some of the first things that they're looking for. These are also good if you want to go independent. So power move number 2 is we're going to solve for the pain. This is what a good marketer does, right? We look for where the pain is and we address it. So let me give you an idea of the pain. This is an excerpt from the Digital Marketing Fundamentals book that's on Amazon right now and available March 1st for shipping. This is from the careers section, and yep, I'm actually going to read this to you, a dramatic reading, if you will. Just to give you an idea of what is happening on the hiring side. If you're a hiring manager, support or tell me that this doesn't work, but it is time to hire a paid search practitioner, maybe with, let's say, 2 years of experience. The hiring team is short on staff and full on deadlines, wading through internal hiring requirements with little time to interview, let alone write a clear job description. There's your hint right there. Human resources forces a template and an everything in the kitchen sink job posting hits the job boards. This is where you see demands for SQL. This is where you see demands for 10 years of experience in TikTok ads when it only came out in 2019. What's going on here, right? All right. Anyway, I'll tell you a story about SQL if we have time later on. The hiring team is flooded with an initial wave of what we call spray and pray resumes. These are from interior designers, from retail workers who maybe had some marketing in college. The managers are trying to guess if the skills are exaggerated or if a candidate is underselling themselves, which does happen, right? Imposter syndrome. But it's too hard to know with so many resumes coming in. So a meeting is held with the recruiting team and they decide to set up more filters on the applicant tracking system or the ATS. And now they're instructed to filter out candidates who don't claim 5 years. Now remember, the job posting says 2 years, but now nothing will get through unless it has 5 years or more of experience. More resumes come in, but none stand out. Another meeting is held. This is where the recruiters start getting frustrated, right? A couple of interviews are had, and now we're starting to get a different idea of what we need and what the talent is out there. So our requirements change even more. And yet the job posting doesn't change. Turns out the job posting is filtering for AdWords experience, but it overlooked Google Ads. It turns out they were filtering for CRO. So resumes that mentioned conversion rate optimization did not get through. So what happens is a few interviews happen. They hire on a hunch. It doesn't work out, surprise. And more time is lost, as well as cost, company reputation, and the new hire is dismissed after just a few weeks. The managers must start all over again with an even stronger bias of what caused the candidate to leave in the first place. So what you see is this is not the well-oiled machine that a lot of us assume is on the other side of the application process. Kind of makes you want to go independent and just be a consultant, right? Okay. We mentioned before that complaints inform us of opportunity. So what we're doing is we're looking for what the hiring team wants to achieve. They want to achieve, or what they want to avoid. They want to avoid loss of time, loss of reputation. They want to verify those skills in a really reliable way. Do you agree? Can you think of others? Put them in the chat. We'll talk about them. All right. Power move number 3, if you are going for a role at a new company and moving up, you want to make sure you get through the ATS. Obviously, you're going to borrow phrases from the job listing. But go research a little bit and find who the hiring manager is. You may not get it right every time, but you can get close. Once you find out, see what words they use to describe what they do, what successes. Have they done posts? Use those words. Don't stuff no 10-point bullet lists. So everybody goes, Michael, do I need a different resume for each key target? Yes, you do. Michael, do I actually change my LinkedIn profile because I'm applying for a key position? The answer is yes, absolutely, because that's how you're going to get found. 2 quick challenges. One is when they use platform keywords to indicate experience. Let's say your resume has paid search and Google Ads in it, appropriately, right? But the hiring company is using PPC and AdWords, no big lists, put it in the narrative. The narrative is where you claim what your results were in a role. Or if you don't have that in your results, then go take a class on LinkedIn. Go take a platform class so you can use those words and work it smoothly into the narrative. Number 2, we have missing experience in a particular platform. Okay. Well, it turns out, I'm just going to check messages. Okay, good. All right. It turns out that if you need to put that word in there, go take a platform course. Most advertising platforms have a certification, training, and completion that's specific to the platform. So Apple Search Ads, Google Ads, Amazon Ads, you see the list there. There's plenty more. Also, you can test on your own side hustle. Maybe sell something, do some LinkedIn ads, or some Facebook ads if it's a commercial thing, right? So there are ways to actually get this experience. A number of people can volunteer for a charity. Charities have access to a lot of these platforms at 0 or low cost, and you're helping out a charity. Now, that one's not a guaranteed slam dunk. Sometimes it's difficult, but sometimes you get a win, so it certainly doesn't hurt to try. Format. You can change formats. If somebody's looking for 4 or 5 years of experience, but you only have 2 years of experience in a particular job, then change the format of the resume. You could say web analytics practitioner for 3 years and list that. And it isn't job specific, okay? That's hit or miss, but sometimes that can get you through the ATS. Key here, don't stretch the truth. Everything you have in your resume needs to be verifiable in person. This, by far, is the most powerful career practice. And I get the most pushback on this. You're going to push back. I know you will. Let me tell you something that I've been to a lot of conferences, sat at a lot of nice dinners with the other speakers. And there was a really neat dinner years ago. Bruce Clay, and he was one of the early agencies in the industry for SEO. And Bruce shared the key to his success was because he shared everything generously and didn't hold anything back. You can know that even people who are helping out in paid search association, Brad Geddes, he's very generous with his information, and he just gives away, and he doesn't hold anything back in terms of educating others or helping people out. And look at the status he has in the industry with books out, published, and highly respected. So sharing your thoughts, it exposes you to criticism, and that's a good thing, okay? It forces you to structure your thoughts, but more importantly, it makes you findable. Now, the biggest pushback I get, and now I'll explain why this photo's on the screen, okay, is that I get, Mike, I don't know anything. I can't do anything without parroting what's already out there. And I get it, right? You don't want to just parrot some basic things. So you're just out of college, maybe you've taken a couple of courses, you don't have practical experience to share, nothing advanced. Don't worry about it. What you can do is put a spin on a topic, something that makes it more approachable. And the reason that the Star Trek scene is here is that I want to tell you that Matt Bailey did this way back in the day. I think it was between Karcher Group and SiteLogic, where he decided to teach basic reporting and probably analytics segmentation called Analytics According to Captain Kirk. And it went on with the very entertaining parallel of how the red shirts always died by the end of the episode. And he gives statistics on this. It was clever. It was fun. It was teaching something that was basic, but it rocketed right to the top. There was a lot of invitations to be speaking and presenting it. And it was a clever way. You can also do, you can aggregate tools, you can review things. There's a lot of different spins and ways that you can get your content out there, help others to learn. And I'm telling you, it creates what we call the celebrity effect. A lot of times people don't even know it. It's like you just came off of stage from a rock concert, and the hiring manager, the hiring team were like, if we could only get this person, because we've heard of them, we've seen them, we know that they could do a lot for our organization. All right. Power move number 5, these things called soft skills, they really do matter. After interviewing many, many hiring managers, you see in front of you the top 6 soft skills that hiring managers have asked for. Grab a screenshot. You've got to know these. What is traditional marketing skills? Why is that in the list? All right, you see number 4. This is a good example, right? Traditional marketing skills. None of us who are in digital advertising are exempt from knowing basic marketing concepts like defining our target market or creating benefit statements for our product and service that goes out. So study your Ogilvy, right? Study marketers that you believe have done a great job. And a little bonus, if you find the hiring manager and they happen to follow a particular author, it really can't hurt to study up on the same book that they are following, right? Same author. This slide is the one that I usually use to help hiring managers. It helps you prepare as a candidate for the soft skills questions, should they ask them. And what I want you to do is take a look at the 6 top soft skills that they're looking for, and have a story or 2 for each one of them. Keep them in your back pocket. They may not come up, but if they do, you'll be ready. Situation, action, results. If you can't tell a story about that particular soft skill or work habit, it's unlikely that you have it if they know how to interview. Power move number 6, this is implied, maintaining your skills. I got to tell you, those of us who have been in the industry for as long as we have can spot somebody who is a lifelong learner. They may be far superior to all of us in their skill sets, but they keep testing themselves. They keep taking courses. They keep coming to conferences just like this one. They contribute, they learn, and then they help others learn the same. So you can fill out applications to speak at conferences, even if you're brand new, if you have a good spin on something and you're generous with it. It turns out some conference chairs prefer people who aren't selling something, right? Annual readiness testing, you saw some of the other courses that are out there. You can, this is a pitch for OMCP, but you can test yourself with OMCA every year. Make sure you're up to speed on the industry standards. Great way to move forward. The last power move. We have seen people who are individual contributors at their company who implement self-testing programs, okay, where the other key colleagues or people who want to learn digital marketing or digital advertising are encouraged to test themselves, to jump into a course together, to come to a lunch and learn and discuss bid management strategies, to teach somebody else programmatic and cross-train. I got to tell you, hiring managers love this when we call them SWAT teams. When demand at the company scales faster than they can hire, if they can borrow employees who are cross-trained in other types of digital marketing, digital ads, this makes for a very valuable employee. Plus, it improves you enough to either take a new role or to start out on your own. So lunch and learns, certifications. These are real photos, by the way. That's Katarina down at the bottom at Bayer. She's an individual contributor, and she encouraged her teammates worldwide to learn digital marketing to the OMCA level, and they did just that. She's receiving an award there, you can bet. In fact, here's a stat for you. It's not on the screen. 83% of the people who do this get a promotion within 1 year. So that's a big power move. Excuse me. So wrapping up, This is the last slide. We're solving for the pain on the hiring side. When you can match keywords for skills, platforms, certifications that are in the hiring process, the applicant tracking system, the person who scans the first few lines, matching your position or titles on your profile, addressing minimum years of experience, because unfortunately it's sometimes an unfair level. I say that if you have about 80% of what's in the job requirement listed, go ahead and apply. Some people may argue that number one way or the other. Have stories that give evidence of your soft skills if you're going into the interview process. Hopefully they'll ask and you'll be ready. And then sharing domain knowledge with some amount of peer review stands out to hiring managers. They love to find you, and it gives you that celebrity status. I am amped to see so much in the chat. I see quite a bit here. Yep, interested in the hiring side. I shot across the bow of hiring managers quite a bit there. I am sorry, but not, because we need to improve that process.
So, all right. So if someone wants, thank you, Michael. So if so much good information, right? And this is something I see come up over and over again, is soft skills are often the first thing hiring managers look at, even above, like, they sort of assume if you're here, you have the hard skills.
Yep.
But some people know they don't have a certain soft skill, or they don't feel they trust it. How do you learn them? Like, you put up one of the soft skills, thinking, right? Okay, well, I'm not sure how you teach someone to think, but the one I did write down was turning strategy into tactics. All right, great buzzwords.
Actually,
It
the other
clearly
actually
is.
turning data into strategies, I believe. Yeah.
So how does someone learn that?
Through practice. It's we say hard skills can be trained. Soft skills are often inherent and come with experience and age. I'll probably get fired by some HR team for saying that. I think being aware, I'm going to see if I can bring up the slide if it's still sharing. If it's not, don't worry about it. Yeah, the ability to turn data into decisions. I think being aware that there is a desire for candidates or people on the team to be able to persuade. I mean, when I talk to people, you know that Procter & Gamble is a big user of OMCP. And I asked the hiring managers, I poll them. In fact, I asked, I think, Jeremy inside of the Slack for Paid Search Association. And what a lot of brand managers and consumer product marketing people say is that I just want to be able to put this employee in front of a client or important people and know that they're going to deliver. And I think when you realize what that means, like, I need to be able to deliver well, I need to be able to present, then you can practice that. The ability to turn data into decisions. I mean, Brad, you remember we used to recruit genetics majors for web analytics because they tended to be able to take great amounts of decisions and boil it down. So you can practice by saying, am I making decisions based on this web analytics data, or am I just enjoying watching the stats proving that I was right? Writing skills, that's something that you can develop and measure with your colleagues. Traditional marketing skills you can study up. People skills, you know what? There are courses for this stuff now on LinkedIn. Take the course.
I think it's easy to sort of prove the hard skills. The soft skills are the harder ones to prove. And I remember years ago, I worked at local lunch. We're going back a long time.
Yeah.
I got a fortune cookie then, and the fortune was thinking is highly encouraged, which isn't a fortune, but it was one of those things. I had to scan it, send it to the entire office, right?
Yep. And Brad, you were absolutely right. Number 6 is the ability to turn strategy into tactics. So you nailed it. And it is, if somebody's given a broad strategy, like, we want to increase customer interaction or something like that, can you break that down into tactics that support that overall strategy? And that is something people are looking for. Yeah.
So Michael's got a good question here. So soft is nice, but do you see marketing people needing to get more techie? This is a big industry debate right now.
So let me tell you a story. I said I was going to talk about the SQL thing. The quick answer is, surprisingly, no.
I agree with that. Anyway.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. We had somebody earn their OMCP, which is a big deal. It's hard to earn. And we just, those of us who volunteer for OMCP, we just, we're like cheering for everybody to go out and get the greatest role. And, and he came back to me after a week or two and he said, Michael, he goes, you failed me. He said, OMCP did not prepare me in the job requirements for SQL programming. I'm like, what do you mean? Is it in there? And what's funny is that I know a lot of the hiring managers out there. And so I looked at the job he was looking, I called the hiring manager. In fact, you may be on the call, sorry. And I said, why are you asking for SQL skills? And they said, yeah, we just put it in there as a filter. And I'm like, I got a little passionate, I got to say. That's why I said, if you're on the session, I'm sorry. But I got pretty mad. And I said, why are you repelling so many candidates for something that you will never need? And they said, because it's really hard to go change the specification. We figured it would filter people who had some technical background. That doesn't go well for me. But it turns out with a lot of the tools right now, I'm seeing that the need to code, it's valuable. I mean, I still code. Over here on this screen, there's a Python script running right now. It's just, and it does help, but I don't think it's as required as it used to be. I'd say the traditional marketing skills and knowing the platforms is a big step in the right direction right now.
Yeah. So 5 to 7 years ago, I don't remember the time, there was this whole movement of paid search people needed to write code for scripts and this and that PHP or Python or Java should be part of job descriptions.
Yeah.
And the problem is when you look at people,
yep,
and how people think, right? Most people are left or right brained, right? Do you want the creative side? Do you want the analytical side?
Yeah.
Now, some people are bilateral. As you get older, your hemispheres talk better to each other. So a marketer who's 40 is actually better than a 20-year-old because their hemispheres are better integrated.
Yeah.
And so often when you're looking at a job role, right, you're saying, do I need the math skills from this person? Or do I have my analytics person who can help them out?
Yes.
And I need them to be a writer.
Yeah.
And that's a very important consideration because paid search is one of the few disciplines that asks both.
It does.
And most people can't do both.
That's right. Yeah. A lot of analysis going on. And, that was the other thing that's kind of a criticism. And I know John says, I'm interested in the hiring side as well. It's a criticism of adding too much in the requirements of a job posting. The silly example that I was going to put up was, for a TikTok ads specialist saying you needed 10 years experience in TikTok ads. And, we all like to chuckle at that. But further down, it said you need video production and editing skills. It's like, oftentimes the person you have doing your ad campaigns is not actually doing the video editing, unless it's a tiny company. But that overload truly gets reset on the hiring side once you realize that no candidates have all of those skill sets. And so you change your requirements internally. And I do it all the time, right? I mean, I've had so many recruiters get mad at me because we thought we knew what we wanted. We found out it really doesn't exist in one person. So we changed the requirements.
All right. So a few practical questions here for everyone. So let's say we have people of all experience levels here. So I'm a beginning PPC person. I have my first job. I've been in the company 2 years and I want to become a team lead. What should I focus on?
Why do you want to be a team lead?
Because I want to make more money and move up a career.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd say start your own agency at that point.
Oh no, man! We have so many large agencies on this call. You can't say that. Sorry, that's been vetoed. Start over.
Fair enough. I know I'm going to get a lot of trouble for a lot of this. 2 years. You've been doing this for a while. You want to move on.
I've got 3 years, right?
Okay. Yeah. Well, first off, remember that yellow band across the bottom, which was conversant in 6 of 8 disciplines. It turns out one of the key skills for people who are managing marketing initiatives and the people who perform them is the ability to communicate the component level benefits. So why is it important to structure your campaign properly? Why is it important to set up A/B tests? And what's the benefit of that? You remember the slide that had what you need to know from the role study from OMCP. And by the way, that's free. Go to omcp.org. You can find it and download it for free. The top two things on that list were communication of practice, and then the second thing was reporting results. Those are both people interactions where you need to know how to present and influence people. And so I would say an emphasis on those skills, because that's where management really spends more time, is motivating and equipping people to perform digital marketing. You got to know the language, you got to know the components and the concepts and the value. And those are hard to find. At first, Brad, I think you remember in the old Market Motive days, everybody wanted to be master certified, right? And that was a tough place to go. And I had CEOs come to me going, I'm going to be master certified. I said, don't bother. If you're going to be managing people, pay attention to the component level, or what I call broad spectrum knowledge across the practices. And that's a key way to get in.
So in plain English, everybody, so not using all the jargon, right? That means, do you know the basics of social, the basics of analytics, the basics of this? You don't have to know how to go into Google Analytics or Omniture, whoever you use, and run a report, because most people can't run a report in Omniture. What you need to know is what's possible and how to ask the right questions. And so that's, and when you say team lead to director, that's the really important step is, do you know what everyone on the team actually does? You don't have to do it yourself. Yep. Do you know what they actually do and what the right questions are to ask?
Yeah. It's a comparison of doing things right and doing the right thing, right?
So for those on the call who are on the hiring side, what are a couple tips they can take away to hire better, or find candidates better, or filter their resumes better? Obviously, right, there's a lot of issues on that side, but what if they're smaller agencies, they're not using all this fancy ATS and HR departments, they just want some good talent? What should they be doing?
So I think that number one complaint is that we can't find people with the skills. I really understand that. And it's hard because you do get overwhelmed with the spray and pray resumes with claims. Somebody's claiming 10 years of experience on TikTok ads, right? But I think that the advice that I have that stands out from the norm is filter by hard skill tests. Test for hard skills before you take the time to interview. And it may repel some people, so you want to be careful about the time investment that you require of people who apply. But you'll get a sense for your funnel real quick. But if somebody can come in showing that they have the digital advertising skills that you're looking for, and you can set up a simple test, right, or use OMCA's test or whatever. But if they can make it through that, then you've got a pretty good bet that they have the hard skills, and you can spend your time sussing out the soft skills and whether they're a fit for the team. So that one thing is big. Second thing, it's really interesting. It turns out that there's a lot of room for bias. Oddly, it happens a lot in digital marketing hires. And, confirmation bias, halo bias, hey, you're into vintage motorcycles like I am, you're almost guaranteed to be hired. It turns out that anonymizing some of the first parts of the interviews makes a huge difference. I think that's a little bit further out, like next year or something like that. But when you end up with a diverse team, it turns out that they perform far better. There's some reports that prove this. So those are just two things I'll throw out.
All right, we're going to wrap this up real fast. So we have a question that came in. I've interviewed for a few agencies and B2B companies. They present a few real-world problems they're facing and ask me to solve it as part of their initial assessment. In other words, here's my problem, solve it for me. Is that a common practice?
Yeah, and it's abused too. So hiring managers, like I said earlier, just a moment ago, be really careful about how much you ask of your candidates up front. So Brad, sometimes I go out in disguise and apply for jobs, right? One time I even took one undercover, right? And I remember one group it got bought up, but they actually had me take a test that was like a half an hour test before they would even interview. And just a funny thing about this, and I'll get back to the question, is they said, don't use calculators or don't use any books or any aids for that, which of course I totally cheated and used all those, right? The next morning, they had me take the same exam while they were proctoring it.
Yeah, that's just too much effort on most candidates
Exactly. And I
for most
think that
jobs.
for the question, it is okay or encouraged for a hiring manager to give a reasonable task. But clearly, if they're trying to get consulting for free, it crosses the line. And I think then it becomes a negotiation with them to say, look, I can give you a couple of bullet points, but if we aren't going further from then, no, I'm not going to take, an hour and a half or 2 days to try and perfect a strategy for your business.
Yep.
Right.
That's what you're paying me for when you hire me.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, really, are they going to take these and go execute them? Probably not. But I think in this case, if they're asking for, let's say, more than a half an hour of work before you even know if you're advancing in the queue to a face-to-face, it's good cause to push back a little bit.
Yep. All right. So real quick, fast answers. What is OMCA and OMCP, since you've used it like 20 times?
Yeah, sorry. So OMCP is an industry association that is independent, is not supported by any platform, and it provides the digital marketing standards of practice, and it tests for those. It also sets out the experience, training, and education requirements. If you pass all of those, you earn your OMCA or OMCP status. OMCA relates to that yellow line across the bottom of the I-shaped marketer. It means you're conversant in a broad spectrum of digital marketing. And then if you choose to, remember the two hands, right? If you choose to pursue two specialties, you have to prove that you have pretty good expertise in those, that you've been practicing them for some time, and you earn your OMCP status. So that is at omcp.org, and check it out.
And disclaimer, I was part of their whole test creations and stuff on the paid search side.
Yeah.
Although it's a great system anyway.
Yeah.
What's your new book and who's it for?
So it's your new book too, Brad, because
I know.
By the way, I want to point out, I do not get any financial gain if you sign up with OMCP. It's a good thing. And I want you to go check it out for the good of the industry, just like the Paid Search Association. The new book is Digital Marketing Fundamentals. It is actually a guide to the standards that define that broad spectrum foundation of knowledge. And Brad and a number of other top authors put it together in order to give you all the knowledge you need for that bottom foundation of the I-shaped marketer. There's also a chapter in there on careers and hiring, just because, and a lot of what I shared is from that. In fact, that excerpt that I read is from there. So it's available on Amazon. You can look up Digital Marketing Fundamentals. You can put in Brad's name as the author, and it'll take you to the right place.
Actually, you can't, because I'm not a listed author on Amazon. It doesn't show up if you search for me. You have to search for you or like Matt Bailey or something.
Greg Jarboe. I'm sorry they did that.
That's okay. It's fine.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a big blue cover. I quoted from it. It was on the screen. It is in pre-sales right now, and Brad knows that it made #1 new release on Amazon in business marketing. Even in pre-sales, it ships on it ships on March 1st.
So for your interns, or if you want a better conversation across all the different markets, right? That's really what it's for. It's make you conversant in the other types of marketing, or it is fantastic for new hires and interns.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've been doing this for 30 years and you've been doing every discipline, don't read it. Give it away.
Right. Yeah. It's a nice gift to somebody, right?
All right. So we are definitely over time, without a question, but it's okay. I think I enjoyed it. So I guess I'm moderating half the screen. So that's all that matters.
Yes, so Jason, it will be on audio, by the way. Jason's asking if it'll be on audio, and the answer is yes.
Last question. Where can people find you if they want to chat with you or get more information? Best place to find you?
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, I'm kind of doing a lot of things and a little bit of nothing. I'm trying to take 8 months of pulling back a little bit, and I don't think that's going to go very well. Growingtwice.com. Growingtwice.com is my little boutique shingle that I use to help hiring managers set their skills criteria for hiring and growing and scaling their team. I take one company a year that I help grow, just in terms of general growth. And then whenever I get a request for digital marketing help, I usually try and pass that to somebody else, because I kind of know who's who in the industry, and just it's a way of giving back and connecting people. So those are the three things I do on growingtwice.com. My email address is michael@growingtwice.com. I'd love to hear from you, especially if you disagree with something that I shared. I love that kind of critique and rubbing sharp against sharp, right? To give a better message to the industry.
All right, Michael, thanks again for being here. It was a fun conversation.
Yeah, I enjoy it too. I'll go ahead and just hang out in the background and see if I can help out.
Yep. And with that, we're going to welcome Nava back, who is going to wrap us up for the day. Thank you, Nava, for hanging out all day and
thank
all
you,
the
Brad.
volunteer work you do.
Well, speaking of volunteers, I definitely want to give a very, very big shout out to two amazing women, Lisa Ragler and Sarah Stebbins. Oh my goodness, these two have been on all day making sure that everything was going on seamless, whether it was moderating or whether it was making sure tech checks were going on, making sure that everything was seamless. So, very big shout out to you two. I also want to give a very big shout out to our sponsors. Thank you very much to PPC Ad Editor. Thank you very much to Call Tracking Metrics. You guys did great sessions today. And thank you to you who invested this wonderful day with us. I know there were some questions about whether we would have recordings or the decks available. We're going to confirm with all the speakers. Once we get the AOKs from them, we will be sharing. We just need to take a little bit of time to confirm all content that we would be sharing can be shared, but we will send that out. And if you are interested in getting involved a little bit more, or if there's more things that you'd like to do with the PSA, I highly recommend that you check out our Slack channel. It is fantastic. It is growing. It is a robust conversation where you get to chat with all the amazing speakers who are in the conference today, as well as a couple of new folks. And it has great hiring, great knowledge sharing. We are constantly looking to do things that will serve you. So if there are things that you would like to see, if there's content that you would like to hear, definitely let us know. And then last but not least, big shout out to all the speakers. Thank you for making today wonderful. And without any further ado, let's have our happy hour, cocktail hour at home, and send lots of profit and victory vibes to everybody. Thank you for investing the time with us. Cheers, guys.